In the vast expanse of Bikini Bottom, life moved with gentle rhythm. The currents whispered over coral, and the soft sway of seaweed marked the passage of time. It was here, in a modest pineapple house, that a small presence quietly entered the world, a creature whose existence would be both unassuming and profound. Gary was not a grand Pokémon, nor a mighty hero of legend. He was a snail, slow and deliberate, yet in his stillness lay depth, intelligence, and awareness that transcended his size. His eyes, perched upon slender stalks, observed the world with calm understanding. His shell, spiraled and patterned, reflected both resilience and the quiet symmetry of nature. When SpongeBob first encountered him, it was not with ceremony. No fanfare marked the meeting, only the soft patter of water against coral and the subtle shimmer of light filtering through the sea. The young sponge, ever eager, immediately sensed something different about this small creature. There was a quiet depth in Gary's gaze, an intelligence that suggested more than instinct, more than instinctual drive. From that first moment, a bond began to form. It was not spoken, for words are unnecessary where trust and understanding exist. SpongeBob, with his open heart and exuberant nature, felt the weight of companionship settle gently upon him. Gary, in return, responded not with speech, but with measured presence, a deliberate pacing, a soft nudge, a glance that conveyed acknowledgement. In the early days, SpongeBob learned patience. The young sponge, accustomed to impulsive action and exuberant energy, found that Gary moved to a rhythm entirely his own. He did not rush. He did not falter. He existed in harmony with the currents, the sand, the coral, and the quiet ebb of life in Bikini Bottom. Every moment together was a lesson. Every shared activity, from the slow crawl along the ocean floor to the gentle lap of water at the edges of the pineapple home, became a meditation in understanding and presence. Gary taught SpongeBob that care is not measured in speed, nor affection in noise, but in constancy, attention, and respect. The daily routine emerged gently. SpongeBob prepared meals, cleaned the home, and tended to the environment around them. Mindful of his small companion, Gary followed, observed, and occasionally responded with a soft meow, a sound small in volume but heavy with meaning. It was his voice, subtle yet precise, a signal of contentment, curiosity, or attention. The neighbors of Bikini Bottom noticed little. To them, Gary was merely a snail, unremarkable, yet oddly present. But SpongeBob understood the depth beneath the surface. Every blink of Gary's eyes, every careful movement, was deliberate, intentional, and full of subtle communication. The seasons shifted above the water. Currents carried plankton and debris, shaping the world around them, and yet the life of Gary and SpongeBob remained centered, anchored in mutual respect and quiet understanding. Even in moments of chaos, the arrival of Patrick, the clatter of the Krusty Krab, or the occasional turbulence of storms, Gary maintained calm. He was a constant, a quiet observer of both whimsy and disaster, providing grounding in a world of motion. Through these shared days, SpongeBob grew to recognize Gary as more than a pet. He was companion, teacher, and mirror. Through him, SpongeBob discovered patience, empathy, and the subtle art of observation. Through him, he learned that the smallest presence can carry the greatest weight of understanding. Gary's life was not loud. It was not heroic in the conventional sense, yet it was profound. In the quiet of the pineapple home, amidst the swaying coral and drifting currents, a bond had been forged, eternal, patient, and unspoken. Here began the journey of Gary, a creature whose quiet presence would shape the days of SpongeBob, whose deliberate movements would teach lessons unseen by the casual observer, and whose life would ripple subtly through the currents of Bikini Bottom. In the soft glow of the underwater world, with currents whispering and shadows shifting gently over sand and coral, Gary and SpongeBob existed in harmony, a reminder that even the smallest creatures can leave the largest impressions. The morning light filtered gently through the water, painting the sandy floor of Bikini Bottom in soft, rippling patterns. Within the pineapple home, a quiet routine began to take shape, a rhythm subtle, deliberate, and shared between two companions. SpongeBob awoke with enthusiasm, yet even in his boundless energy, he tempered himself for Gary's pace. He moved slowly, mindfully, preparing food, tidying the home, and attending to the smallest details of care. Every movement was observed, noted, and acknowledged by Gary, whose large, expressive eyes tracked each action with calm awareness. Breakfast was a silent ceremony. SpongeBob arranged the food with care, ensuring that each morsel was accessible, fresh, and presented with attention. Gary approached, slow and deliberate, curling his antennae in measured recognition of the effort bestowed upon him. The soft, familiar meow escaped his lips, a sound small in force, but rich in meaning, a greeting, a sign of approval, a bond reaffirmed. Afterward, the day unfolded gently. SpongeBob would polish his home, arrange objects, and engage in tasks that others might find mundane. But in these moments, Gary's presence infused the routine with rhythm and stability. He moved along the floor at his own pace, attentive to the currents and contours of the environment, occasionally pausing to observe SpongeBob or investigate a drifting piece of seaweed. Their walks were measured, serene journeys across the coral and sand. Gary's slow crawl became a meditation, a practice in patience and observation. SpongeBob matched his pace, learning to see the details he might otherwise overlook, the shimmer of a shell, the subtle currents weaving around rocks, the gentle sway of underwater flora. Together, they discovered beauty in stillness and movement alike. Occasionally, neighbors passed by. Patrick's clumsy energy sometimes disrupted the quiet, yet Gary remained composed, unfazed by noise or chaos. Even SpongeBob's friends could sense that Gary's presence was unique, not loud or commanding, but undeniably grounding. In the silent exchange of glance and gesture, the snail communicated presence, understanding, and unspoken companionship. Throughout the day, SpongeBob engaged in playful endeavors, arranging bubbles, tending to chores, or attending to his job at the Krusty Krab. Gary, ever attentive, followed with patience, observing the world and his companion with quiet interest. He understood routines, patterns, and rhythms, and in his calm observation, he offered SpongeBob subtle guidance, a pause here, a gentle nudge there, reinforcing harmony without interruption. Evenings brought reflection and calm. The currents slowed, light faded into the soft twilight of the ocean depths, and the pineapple home became a sanctuary of quiet companionship. SpongeBob would sit, and Gary would curl beside him, antennae resting lightly as he absorbed the subtle vibrations of his surroundings. No words were needed. Presence alone sufficed. Each heartbeat, each motion, and each glance reinforced the bond that had grown so naturally over time. Through this gentle routine, SpongeBob learned invaluable lessons. Patience was cultivated, observation sharpened, and empathy deepened. Through Gary, he discovered that care is not measured in grand gestures, but in constancy, attentiveness, and quiet understanding. Through Gary, he understood that companionship is more than play or affection. It is presence, consistency, and shared rhythm. Gary's life was slow, deliberate, and profoundly influential. Though small, he shaped the world around him, not through force or noise, but through calm observation and subtle guidance. SpongeBob recognized this truth intuitively, aligning his own energy with the snail's pace, learning to navigate both chaos and calm with equal grace. Night descended upon Bikini Bottom, currents shifting softly over the sand. The pineapple home glowed gently, a beacon of warmth and constancy. Gary rested close to SpongeBob, his soft breathing harmonizing with the rhythm of the ocean. In the quiet, unspoken presence of the snail, SpongeBob found balance, patience, and an enduring sense of companionship. And so the days continued, gentle, deliberate, and intertwined. In the routine, in the stillness, and in the small actions repeated day after day, The bond between Snail and Sponge deepened, silent, yet profound. Gary had become more than a pet. He was a companion, a teacher, and a quiet guardian of SpongeBob's heart and home. Within the soft embrace of routine, life moved in harmony. The small snail, steadfast and calm, embodied the essence of patience, understanding, and quiet influence. And SpongeBob, ever attentive, learned from him the rhythm of care, the weight of presence, and the beauty of life lived with gentle awareness. In the quiet corners of Bikini Bottom, life thrived in soft rhythms. Coral swayed, currents whispered, and shadows stretched gently across the ocean floor. Within the pineapple home, a subtler rhythm persisted, one defined by the deliberate movements of a small, observant snail. Gary's presence was constant, yet unobtrusive. He did not rush, he did not interrupt, and he did not demand attention. And yet, in his stillness, there was guidance, teaching, and understanding that spoke louder than any words could. SpongeBob, ever energetic and prone to exuberance, began to notice the lessons embedded in Gary's actions. The snail's slow crawl across the floor was more than movement. It was a meditation in observation. Each careful step, each deliberate pause, reflected awareness of surroundings, consideration of consequences, and harmony with the currents of the world. Through these simple motions, SpongeBob learned the value of patience. He observed how Gary responded to minor disturbances, a shifting coral, a stray plankton, the ripple of currents, and began to apply the same mindfulness in his own activities. Patience, he realized, was not passive. It was attentive, deliberate, and filled with quiet power. The lessons of silence extended beyond patience. Gary's stillness taught reflection. When SpongeBob rushed to complete chores or hurried to engage in play, the snail's calm presence served as a gentle counterpoint, a reminder that actions carried weight and attention shaped outcomes. Even a small misstep could ripple through the day, and in observing Gary, SpongeBob developed an awareness of subtle cause and effect. Communication, too, took shape in quiet ways. Gary's soft meow was measured and intentional, signaling curiosity, contentment, or subtle alertness. SpongeBob learned to interpret these signals, understanding nuance, tone, and intention without the need for words. It was a language of attention, perception, and shared understanding, a conversation without sound, yet profound in its depth. As days passed, SpongeBob noticed the strength in Gary's calm intelligence. The snail seemed to sense moods, anticipate movements, and respond to the world with measured intent. When storms rattled the pineapple, or Patrick's antics grew disruptive, Gary remained composed, a quiet anchor against chaos. Through this, SpongeBob learned that true guidance is often silent, that leadership is often subtle, and that influence is most enduring when it is unseen. The snail's intellect was evident in small, deliberate actions. He knew which paths through the coral were safest, which currents carried the most nourishment, and which areas of the home required attention. Even without direct instruction, Gary acted with precision, shaping his environment through observation, decision, and careful execution. SpongeBob began to appreciate that intelligence is not measured in speed or loudness, but in understanding, foresight, and subtle intervention. At night, when the ocean slowed and the glow of bioluminescent flora bathed the pineapple in gentle light, Gary became a silent companion in reflection. He rested near SpongeBob, antennae occasionally twitching as he absorbed the faint vibrations of the surrounding water. In these moments, SpongeBob found clarity, focus, and peace. The snail's calm presence illuminated the lessons of the day, reinforcing mindfulness, patience, and empathy. Through years of shared experience, a profound bond developed. Gary was more than a pet. He was a teacher, a mirror, and a steady force in SpongeBob's life. His quiet intelligence shaped the sponge's actions, guided his decisions, and anchored his exuberance in measured awareness. The world of Bikini Bottom continued around them. Currents shifted, neighbors wandered, and life ebbed and flowed. Yet within the pineapple home, time held a different cadence. The lessons of silence carried weight, teaching that depth exists in stillness, that influence is quiet, and that understanding transcends speech. Gary's life was simple, deliberate, and purposeful. Through observation, patience, and quiet guidance, he shaped not only his own existence, but also the heart and mind of his companion. He was a steady presence in a chaotic world, a reminder that even the smallest creatures can hold profound wisdom, and that true companionship is measured in constancy, care, and awareness. And as SpongeBob drifted into sleep each night, he did so knowing that within the gentle rhythm of Gary's presence lay lessons unseen, guidance unspoken, and a bond eternal. The gentle sway of currents carried light and shadow across the sandy floor of Bikini Bottom. Within the pineapple home, life unfolded in quiet rhythm, yet it was punctuated by bursts of playful energy, small celebrations of presence, connection, and joy. Gary, though deliberate and measured, possessed a subtle playfulness. It was not loud, nor demanding, but expressed in slight gestures. A flick of an antenna, a measured chase across the floor, or a sudden dash toward a drifting object. SpongeBob noticed these gestures and responded with enthusiasm, matching his energy to the rhythm of his companion's movements. Their games were simple yet profound. A drifting shell became a treasure to be pursued. A shadow across the floor inspired a careful chase. Even the bubbles from SpongeBob's hands or the gentle ripple of water around the pineapple transformed into a playground for mutual exploration. In these moments, SpongeBob learned to balance exuberance with patience. Gary's slow pace demanded attention, mindfulness, and timing. SpongeBob could not simply rush. He had to adjust, observe, and anticipate, learning through play the lessons of harmony and respect. The soft meow of Gary punctuated the playful exchanges. It was a sound both commanding attention and expressing delight, signaling when a game should pause, accelerate, or shift. SpongeBob responded intuitively, the dialogue between Snail and Sponge unfolding without words, yet rich in meaning. Even Patrick's clumsy interruptions became part of the rhythm. Gary would respond with subtle shifts, moving away, curling slightly, or observing quietly, teaching SpongeBob to navigate disruption without losing calm or enjoyment. Play, in this sense, was not merely entertainment. It was a form of communication, teaching, and shared experience. The afternoon often carried these playful interludes into creative endeavors. SpongeBob would arrange small courses for Gary to navigate, designing paths with shells, seaweed, and coral. Gary moved through them with careful deliberation, yet with an evident joy in mastery, teaching SpongeBob that even precision and patience could be a source of fun. Quiet exploration extended beyond the pineapple. They would wander short distances, Gary's slow crawl creating a measured rhythm through the coral and sand. SpongeBob learned to observe with him, noticing the patterns of small creatures, the shimmer of plankton, and the subtle changes in light and current. In the act of shared movement, each discovered the joy of connection, awareness, and mutual attention. Evenings, once quiet and reflective, often became playful again. Bubbles drifted lazily through the home. Furniture was nudged gently, and small challenges, like moving a particular object across the floor, became opportunities for interaction and amusement. Gary's subtle intelligence shone in these moments. He understood rules, responded with consistency, and encouraged SpongeBob to engage thoughtfully. Through these playful interludes, the bond between Snail and Sponge deepened. SpongeBob learned that companionship is not solely measured in care or attention, but also in shared joy, responsiveness, and engagement. Gary's quiet playfulness shaped SpongeBob's actions, teaching adaptability, patience, and appreciation for subtlety. Even in the calm after play, the lessons persisted. Gary's gentle nudges, the soft meow, and his deliberate movements reminded SpongeBob that presence alone carries meaning, and that joy is amplified when shared in rhythm and understanding. Through routine and play, care and observation, Gary became more than a pet. He was a companion, a teacher, and a partner in the quiet exploration of the world. Each shared moment, whether measured in patience, reflection, or playful chase, reinforced the trust, respect, and enduring connection that defined their lives together. Night fell over Bikini Bottom, soft currents. Brushing the edges of the pineapple home, Gary rested, antennae lightly curling, while SpongeBob reflected on the day's shared experiences. In the quiet glow of evening, the lessons of patience, the joy of play, and the depth of companionship intertwined seamlessly. And as sleep claimed them both, the gentle rhythm of life, guided by observation, care, and shared delight, continued in perfect harmony. Beneath the playful surface of Bikini Bottom, life carried subtle complexities, currents, and patterns. Within the pineapple home, Gary observed not merely for routine or comfort, but with a quiet intelligence that understood the rhythm and nuances of the world around him. His movements were deliberate, measured, and purposeful. Every glance, every twitch of an antenna, every soft meow conveyed awareness, assessment, and understanding. SpongeBob, though often exuberant and impulsive, gradually recognized these signs, realizing that Gary's wisdom was silent yet profound. In small decisions, Gary acted with foresight. He avoided areas of the home that might present hazard, nudged objects to prevent spills, and monitored the subtle changes in currents that carried plankton, debris, or other creatures. His observations extended beyond the physical to the emotional. He sensed SpongeBob's moods, responding with gentle nudges or quiet presence when the sponge was agitated, distracted, or uncertain. Through this, SpongeBob learned to interpret nuance, to value subtle cues, and to consider outcomes before acting. Gary's influence was quiet, almost imperceptible, yet it guided thought, decision, and action with precision. He was a teacher in patience, perception, and insight, instructing not with words, but through presence, observation, and subtle interaction. The snail's intelligence extended to social awareness. When neighbors arrived, Patrick with his clumsy exuberance, Squidward with his gruff indifference, Gary observed, assessed, and responded appropriately. He maintained calm, ensuring that interactions remained harmonious. In doing so, he demonstrated the subtle art of diplomacy, teaching SpongeBob that communication transcends language and that understanding often lies in observation and timing. Even SpongeBob's work at the Krusty Krab was subtly influenced. Gary's silent presence reminded the sponge to act thoughtfully, to notice the small details, and to approach tasks with careful attention. He learned that even in playful chaos, intelligence and foresight create stability and effectiveness. Gary's wisdom was not directive, it was observational. He never imposed, never commanded, yet his actions shaped outcomes. In their shared world, he served as a quiet guide, a sentinel of awareness, and a repository of measured judgment. SpongeBob came to rely on this guidance instinctively, trusting in the snail's perception even when unaware of its full extent. Through the years, the bond strengthened. SpongeBob recognized that Gary's intelligence was both practical and moral. He displayed empathy, consistency, and a subtle understanding of fairness, teaching lessons that went beyond task or action. In quiet moments, SpongeBob reflected on these qualities, realizing that companionship entails growth, awareness, and mutual respect. Even in moments of uncertainty or danger, a sudden storm, a mischievous plankton scheme, or an accidental spill, Gary's awareness provided stability. His calm assessment and measured response became a model for SpongeBob, who learned to approach challenges with patience, observation, and thoughtful action. Through the unseen wisdom of his companion, SpongeBob discovered the value of reflection, careful judgment, and emotional awareness. He understood that intelligence is not always loud or overt, but often quiet, deliberate, and subtle in effect. Gary taught him that true guidance is present in perception, insight, and steady influence. Nighttime brought reflection and calm. Gary rested beside SpongeBob, antennae occasionally twitching as he absorbed the vibrations of the surrounding water. In these moments, the sponge felt a profound sense of clarity and connection, recognizing that wisdom often speaks in silence, and that companionship provides the deepest lessons through every day, every gentle movement, and every quiet observation. Gary shaped the life and understanding of SpongeBob. He was more than a pet. He was a guardian of thought, a guide of perception, and a teacher of silent insight. And as the ocean currents carried the soft glow of evening across the sands of Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob rested, comforted by the unseen wisdom that surrounded him, and by the small, steadfast presence of his remarkable companion. The ocean stretched endlessly beyond the pineapple home, a realm of subtle wonders, hidden currents, and quiet beauty. Within this vast expanse, Gary and SpongeBob embarked on their daily journeys, adventures not grand in scale, but profound in experience. Even the simplest exploration became an exercise in observation and patience. Gary led with deliberate steps, antennae probing the water, eyes scanning for hidden details that might escape casual notice. SpongeBob, attuned to his companion's rhythm, moved with equal care, learning to see the world through the slow, deliberate perspective of his snail. The coral gardens became mazes of curiosity. Each branch and crevice held life, tiny plankton, darting fish, and shimmering shells. And Gary guided SpongeBob to notice the subtle interactions of this underwater ecosystem. Every movement, every ripple, carried meaning. And through their shared explorations, SpongeBob came to appreciate the delicate balance of life around them. Sometimes, their adventures were simple journeys to neighboring homes or to the Krusty Krab. Yet even these excursions were filled with discovery. Gary's slow, observant approach ensured that SpongeBob noticed the subtle shifts in current, the glimmer of sand patterns, and the movements of unseen creatures. In the quiet observation, he learned that adventure is not defined by danger or spectacle, but by awareness, curiosity, and connection. Even playful encounters with Patrick or other neighbors became lessons. Gary remained calm, observing, assessing, and occasionally nudging SpongeBob toward patience or caution. Through this, the sponge internalized the importance of measured action, of responding thoughtfully rather than impulsively, and of valuing observation as much as participation. Their explorations extended to small tasks that became adventures in themselves, fetching a drifting object, navigating a cluster of seaweed, or observing the subtle behaviors of passing creatures, became exercises in perception, adaptability, and shared experience. Each journey reinforced the bond between snail and sponge, blending the practical with the profound. Gary's intelligence shone brightest in these subtle adventures. He anticipated currents, adjusted his path, and communicated intent through measured gestures and gentle meows. SpongeBob learned to interpret these cues intuitively, aligning his movements with Gary's wisdom, and discovering that the world is best understood in harmony with those around us. Evening brought reflection after these explorations. The soft glow of bioluminescent flora lit the ocean floor, shadows drifting slowly across sand and coral. Gary rested beside SpongeBob, antennae curling gently, absorbing the vibrations of the home and the currents beyond. SpongeBob, in turn, reflected on the day's adventures, not for their excitement, but for the insights, the awareness, and the quiet lessons imparted by his steadfast companion. Through these subtle adventures, SpongeBob learned patience, observation, empathy, and connection. Gary's measured presence turned every journey into a lesson, every simple task into an opportunity for reflection, and every moment into a shared experience of discovery. In the quiet of the underwater world, amidst the gentle sway of currents and the soft chorus of distant marine life, Gary and SpongeBob's adventures continued. They were small in scale, yet immense in impact, shaping understanding, deepening companionship, and revealing the profound beauty hidden in the everyday rhythms of life. As the ocean settled into night, their bond remained constant. Through subtle adventures, shared journeys, and quiet observation, Gary had become not just a companion, but a guide, a teacher, and an enduring presence in SpongeBob's world. And in the gentle embrace of routine and exploration, the lessons of patience, presence, and companionship unfolded quietly, leaving their mark on the better side and front, hearts and minds of both Snail and Sponge. The currents of Bikini Bottom often carried quiet chaos alongside their gentle rhythm. Storms occasionally ruffled the surface, neighbors brought unexpected disruption, and daily life presented moments of uncertainty. In these times, the pineapple home became a sanctuary, and Gary's presence a quiet anchor for SpongeBob's heart. The snail's calm demeanor was a balm against anxiety. His slow, deliberate movements and attentive eyes communicated reassurance. Even a small nudge or a soft meow carried meaning, an affirmation that all was well, a signal to pause, breathe, and align with the rhythm of the world. SpongeBob, sensitive and exuberant by nature, often faced small anxieties. A missed Krusty Krab order, a storm on the horizon, or the unpredictability of Patrick's antics. Gary responded not with alarm or judgment, but with steadfast presence. The snail's quiet attention reminded SpongeBob that worry is eased not through panic, but through observation, patience, and companionship. During these moments, SpongeBob would sit quietly, leaning close to Gary. He felt the rhythm of the snail's breathing, the gentle curl of antennae, and the steady calm that emanated from each deliberate movement. It was a language without words, yet its meaning was clear. You are not alone, and all will be well. Gary's comfort extended beyond physical presence. He guided SpongeBob emotionally, reinforcing stability through subtle cues. When the sponge's thoughts became scattered or frantic, a small look, a deliberate pause, or a gentle touch prompted reflection and calm. In this way, Gary taught resilience, patience, and the quiet strength of emotional awareness. Even in moments of minor distress, Gary's intelligence was evident. He recognized SpongeBob's emotional state, assessed the environment, and responded with measured action. He offered support not through interference, but through alignment, demonstrating that guidance can be silent, and that comfort is often conveyed through attentive presence. Neighbors occasionally noticed the pair together. To the casual eye, Gary appeared small, quiet, and unremarkable. Yet those who observed carefully could sense the depth of understanding and trust, the invisible threads of reassurance connecting Snail and Sponge. It was a partnership of mutual awareness, where presence and attention provided the foundation for emotional stability. Even simple routines became moments of comfort. Shared meals, gentle walks, or quiet observation of drifting coral carried significance. Gary's steady rhythm reinforced SpongeBob's confidence, patience, and sense of security, transforming ordinary tasks into subtle lessons in care and trust. As night fell over Bikini Bottom, the pineapple home glowed softly with bioluminescent light. Gary curled beside SpongeBob, antennae gently touching, eyes watching with quiet attentiveness. The sponge, feeling the steady presence of his companion, experienced a sense of calm and reassurance unmatched by words or action. In the snail's silence, he found solace, stability, and the gentle rhythm of companionship. Through these moments of comfort, SpongeBob discovered the profound impact of subtle presence. He learned that emotional support need not be loud or overt, but can be conveyed through patience, understanding, and quiet alignment. Gary taught that even the smallest gestures, a glance, a touch, a soft sound, carry immense power in grounding the heart and mind. Day by day, these moments wove themselves into the fabric of their lives. Gary became not only a companion and teacher, but a source of emotional resilience, a silent guardian and a reminder of the power of attentive presence. In the quiet embrace of night, with the currents of Bikini Bottom shifting gently outside, SpongeBob slept with a heart eased by companionship. Gary, steadfast and observant, remained by his side, a silent sentinel, a guide, and an enduring symbol of comfort and care. Beneath the gentle sway of Bikini Bottom's currents, life unfolded in patterns both subtle and complex. Within the pineapple home, Gary's curiosity guided the days, revealing small wonders and inviting exploration in ways both playful and profound. The snail approached the world with deliberate attention. Every shell, every pebble, every drifting fragment of coral drew his notice. He examined, nudged, and observed with eyes wide and antennae extended, absorbing details that might escape even the most attentive observer. SpongeBob, attuned to these motions, learned to slow his own energy, to watch closely, and to appreciate the subtleties of the ocean around them. Their shared curiosity transformed mundane moments into gentle adventures. A drifting plankton might inspire a cautious chase across the floor. A flickering shadow of light, bending through the water, prompted a careful investigation. Gary's deliberate attention framed these experiences, teaching SpongeBob that observation, patience, and wonder often reveal more than hurried exploration ever could. This curiosity was not restless or anxious. It was measured, precise, and thoughtful. A deliberate search for understanding rather than mere novelty. Gary examined textures, followed currents, and traced the movement of tiny creatures with quiet fascination. Through him, SpongeBob learned that curiosity paired with patience yields insight, awareness, and the joy of discovery. The pineapple home itself became a field of observation. Objects shifted, small items were rearranged, and minor discoveries awaited those willing to notice. Gary guided these observations with subtle nudges, soft meows, and deliberate movements, allowing SpongeBob to participate in the process of discovery without overwhelm. Even the wider world of Bikini Bottom offered opportunities for gentle exploration. Outside the pineapple, among drifting seaweed, colorful coral, and hidden nooks, Gary led SpongeBob on slow, purposeful journeys. Each movement revealed patterns, interconnections, and small marvels previously unnoticed. Through this shared attentiveness, SpongeBob learned to appreciate subtlety, detail, and the intricate beauty of life beneath the waves. Neighbors occasionally crossed their paths, but Gary remained focused. Patrick's clumsy energy, Squidward's impatience, or random disturbances could not distract him from careful observation. SpongeBob, mirroring this focus, began to notice the importance of concentration, discernment, and calm engagement in the face of distraction. Gary's curiosity also revealed lessons in problem-solving. When objects blocked his path, he found ways around them. When patterns in the sand shifted, he followed their logic. Through these actions, SpongeBob internalized strategies for navigating challenges, not through haste or force, but through careful attention, planning, and observation. Even playful exploration carried deeper meaning. Chasing drifting bubbles, investigating small shadows, or following the currents together strengthened not only their bond, but also SpongeBob's awareness and appreciation for the living world. Gary's curiosity invited SpongeBob to participate in a slow, deliberate engagement with life itself, turning ordinary moments into subtle revelations. As night settled over Bikini Bottom, the gentle glow of bioluminescent plants cast soft light across the sand. Gary curled beside SpongeBob, antennae twitching slightly in response to faint movements in the environment. SpongeBob reflected on the day's discoveries, aware that each moment of curiosity had deepened his understanding of both his companion and the world around them. Through the quiet guidance of Gary's inquisitive mind, SpongeBob learned the value of attention, patience, and wonder. He recognized that curiosity is not mere playfulness, but a method of engagement, a tool for learning, and a source of connection with the world. And in the stillness of the night, surrounded by the gentle currents of Bikini Bottom, the lessons of curiosity, observation, and attentive companionship settled softly into their shared existence, a silent celebration of discovery and the enduring bond between Snail and Sponge. Beneath the serene currents of Bikini Bottom, life flowed in gentle arcs of light and shadow. Within the pineapple home, a subtler form of protection persisted, quiet, deliberate, and unwavering. Gary, ever observant, assumed the role of a silent guardian, watching over SpongeBob with care, intelligence, and patience. His vigilance was subtle, never intrusive, eyes tracking movements, antennae probing the air, and soft meows punctuated his observation. He noticed disturbances invisible to most, a sudden shift in currents, a creeping shadow, or the minor agitation of neighboring creatures. Through these cues, Gary anticipated potential disruptions and guided SpongeBob safely through each day. SpongeBob, immersed in his energetic endeavors, often overlooked minor hazards, slippery surfaces, drifting objects, or sudden clumsiness could cause mishaps. Gary, however, was ever present. A gentle nudge, a deliberate positioning, or the softest sound would alert SpongeBob to the risk, preventing harm without the need for overt instruction. This guardianship extended beyond physical protection. Gary observed emotional states with equal acuity. When SpongeBob grew anxious, frustrated, or distracted, the snail offered quiet reassurance, a calming presence, a soft touch, or a glance that conveyed understanding. Through this, SpongeBob learned to navigate both internal and external challenges, with composure, guided by the steadfast attention of his companion. Even in the playful chaos of daily life, Gary's vigilance remained constant. Patrick's exuberance, Squidward's impatience, or unexpected disturbances in Bikini Bottom never went unnoticed. Gary adapted, redirecting attention subtly, ensuring that SpongeBob remained safe, balanced, and untroubled by minor turmoil. The intelligence underpinning this guardianship was profound. Gary assessed patterns, predicted outcomes, and acted preemptively. He knew when to intervene directly, when to signal through subtle cues, and when silence alone sufficed. SpongeBob gradually recognized the depth of this quiet protection, learning to trust in the snail's guidance without fully understanding its intricacies. Outside the pineapple home, Gary's role persisted. Slowly and deliberately, he navigated streets, coral paths, and the spaces between neighbors' homes, ensuring that SpongeBob's adventures remained measured and safe. Even the currents themselves seemed to respond to his presence, as though his awareness shaped the very environment he traversed. At night, guardianship took a more introspective form. Gary rested near SpongeBob, antennae curling gently, eyes half closed but ever vigilant. He sensed subtle shifts in the environment, distant currents, faint echoes, the rhythm of neighboring creatures, ensuring that both the home and its occupant remained secure. Through these quiet actions, SpongeBob internalized lessons of awareness, responsibility, and subtle vigilance. He realized that protection is often invisible, guidance is silent, and care can manifest in the smallest, most deliberate gestures. Gary's guardianship was not forceful, nor was it commanding. It was gentle, consistent, and profoundly effective. Day by day, this quiet guardianship wove itself into the fabric of SpongeBob's life. He learned to move with mindfulness, trust in subtle cues, and respect the rhythm of his environment. The snail, small yet vigilant, provided both safety and insight, shaping a sense of security that transcended physical boundaries. In the tranquil glow of night, as currents shifted softly over the sandy floor, Gary remained alert, steadfast, and attentive. SpongeBob, comforted by this quiet protection, drifted into sleep with a sense of security unmatched by words or deeds alone. The snail's presence, steady and deliberate, became a cornerstone of his life, a guardian, a teacher, and a companion whose influence shaped both action and understanding. And so, amidst the gentle currents of Bikini Bottom, the quiet guardianship of Gary endured, subtle, intelligent, and unwavering, a testament to the profound bond between snail and sponge. Life in Bikini Bottom moved with gentle rhythm, currents flowing over sand and coral, carrying with them whispers of quiet activity. Within the pineapple home, a deeper rhythm existed, a bond between snail and sponge, unspoken yet profound, woven through years of shared observation, care, and subtle interaction. Gary's communication was never loud or overt. It relied on measured gestures, soft meows, deliberate positioning, and the subtle movement of antennae. Each signal conveyed meaning, curiosity, contentment, attention, or guidance, and SpongeBob learned to interpret these cues instinctively. Words were unnecessary. Understanding transcended language. Over time, this silent dialogue became a form of mutual comprehension. SpongeBob could sense what Gary desired, feared, or observed without explicit instruction. He learned that attention and empathy amplify understanding, and that the quietest presence can communicate volumes. Gary, in turn, recognized SpongeBob's moods, intentions, and needs, responding in ways that reinforced trust and connection. This bond shaped daily life, from morning routines to playful adventures, from moments of curiosity to times of quiet reflection. Each interaction carried meaning. The snail's guidance was never forceful. It was gentle, consistent, and intelligent, creating a framework within which SpongeBob could move, explore, and grow. Even seemingly mundane activities reinforced their connection. Shared meals, slow walks, or careful observation of drifting currents became exercises in attentiveness and synchronization. SpongeBob learned to wait, watch, and respond thoughtfully, aligning his energy with the deliberate rhythm of his companion. Gary, in turn, adjusted to SpongeBob's pace, ensuring that each moment of interaction was both meaningful and harmonious. The bond extended to emotion as well as action. During moments of frustration, disappointment, or uncertainty, Gary offered comfort through presence, alone. A gentle nudge, a soft meow, or the simple act of curling beside SpongeBob conveyed reassurance and understanding. The snail's empathy taught lessons in patience, acceptance, and the subtle power of quiet support. Through this continuous, silent exchange, SpongeBob discovered the depth of companionship. He realized that understanding does not always require words, and that connection is most profound when expressed through attention, observation, and shared experience. Gary's influence shaped not only SpongeBob's actions, but his awareness, empathy, and perception of the world around him. Neighbors occasionally witnessed the pair together. To casual eyes, Gary was a simple snail, and SpongeBob an energetic sponge. Yet those attuned to subtlety could perceive the depth of their bond, an invisible thread linking presence, observation, and understanding. It was a relationship built not on noise or display, but on consistency, attentiveness, and mutual respect. Through years of shared moments, adventures, and quiet reflection, the bond between snail and sponge deepened into a language of trust and understanding. Every gesture, glance, and sound reinforced their connection, creating a profound awareness that transcended ordinary companionship. Even as life in Bikini Bottom brought change, challenges, and the occasional chaos, their silent dialogue endured. Gary's intelligence and attentiveness ensured that SpongeBob was guided, comforted, and understood. SpongeBob's openness and empathy allowed him to perceive and respond to the subtle cues, completing the circle of communication. In the stillness of night, as currents shifted gently over sand and coral, the bond remained unbroken. Gary rested near SpongeBob, antennae lightly curling, eyes half closed but observant. SpongeBob, feeling the quiet presence, understood the depth of their shared awareness and drifted into sleep with trust, comfort, and peace. Through this enduring connection, Gary demonstrated that understanding is a living thing, nurtured by attention, patience, and presence. He revealed that the strongest bonds are often unspoken, silent, yet profound, shaping hearts, minds, and shared existence in ways words alone cannot convey. And so, within the gentle rhythms of the ocean and the quiet walls of the pineapple home, the bonds of understanding flourished, a testament to the enduring power of silent companionship, empathy, and the shared wisdom of snail and sponge. Beneath the gentle shimmer of Bikini Bottom, life unfolded in layers of wonder, often unnoticed by hurried eyes. Within this world, Gary moved with quiet purpose, a guide and companion leading SpongeBob towards subtleties hidden in plain sight. Discovery was not always dramatic. It resided in the soft sway of seaweed, the delicate patterns of sand, the shimmer of tiny shells, and the fleeting shadows of small fish. Gary noticed these nuances, his antennae probing, eyes tracking, and soft meows signaling interest or attention. SpongeBob, following, began to perceive the ocean through the snail's lens, patient, observant, and attentive. Each day became an opportunity to uncover hidden wonders, a new arrangement of coral, a tiny plankton current, or an unusual reflection of light became a lesson in mindfulness and presence. Gary guided SpongeBob carefully, his deliberate movements modeling patience and subtle investigation. Through observation and measured interaction, SpongeBob learned that the world's smallest details often carry the richest meaning. Sometimes discoveries were playful, a floating object to chase, a bubble to follow, or a drifting shadow to investigate. Other times they were profound, noticing a pattern in the sand, recognizing the interplay of currents, or witnessing the quiet interactions of small creatures. Gary's keen perception revealed these wonders, teaching SpongeBob that exploration is as much about awareness as it is about movement. Their discoveries extended beyond the immediate environment of the pineapple home. The coral gardens, the streets of Bikini Bottom, and even the edges of jellyfish fields offered new experiences. Gary's deliberate pace allowed SpongeBob to notice subtle shifts in light, texture, and sound, deepening his appreciation for the living, breathing world around them. Curiosity and observation became intertwined with care. Gary's attentiveness ensured that each discovery was safe, deliberate, and meaningful. He modeled the balance between exploration and caution, teaching SpongeBob that wisdom is found in the harmony of movement and awareness. Even interactions with neighbors were opportunities for discovery. Patrick's antics, Squidward's exasperation, or Sandy's scientific experiments offered small lessons in observation, timing, and empathy. Gary remained attentive, guiding SpongeBob to notice nuances, adapt to context, and respond thoughtfully, turning ordinary encounters into rich learning experiences. The soft meows of Gary punctuated these days, subtle cues that directed attention, signaled curiosity, or confirmed understanding. SpongeBob learned to interpret these sounds intuitively, aligning his actions with the silent guidance of his companion. In this dialogue of observation, they shared knowledge, insight, and mutual growth. Through these continuous days of discovery, SpongeBob developed patience, mindfulness, and a deep appreciation for the ocean's complexities. Gary's steady guidance revealed that learning is a process, observation a practice, and awareness a treasure. Small mysteries, gentle wonders, and quiet lessons shaped each day, leaving lasting impressions on the sponge's mind and heart. Evenings offered reflection on the day's discoveries. The bioluminescent glow of the ocean bathed the pineapple home in gentle light. Gary rested near SpongeBob, antennae twitching in subtle response to the shifting currents. The sponge reflected on the moments shared, understanding the profound impact of silent guidance and careful observation on his perception of the world. In this rhythm of daily exploration, Gary became both teacher and partner, turning ordinary moments into extraordinary lessons. SpongeBob learned that discovery is not always grand, but that the quiet pursuit of knowledge, patience, and attention reveals a universe of subtle beauty. and as the ocean settled into night, currents rippling softly over sand, coral, Gary and SpongeBob drifted into sleep, companions in learning, observation, and the enduring wonder of the world beneath the waves. Beneath the ever-shifting currents of Bikini Bottom, life pulsed in rhythms both subtle and constant. Gary, slow and deliberate, moved attuned to these natural cycles, and SpongeBob, observing and following, began to recognize patterns that shaped their days. From dawn's gentle illumination to the fading glow of twilight, the underwater world adhered to rhythms that spoke in currents, shadows, and the movements of creatures both great and small. Gary sensed these patterns instinctively, when currents would shift, when plankton would gather, and when the tides of energy within the community of Bikini Bottom would fluctuate. SpongeBob, guided by his companion's quiet awareness, learned to align his actions with these cycles, discovering a harmony in daily life previously unnoticed. Routine became a map of understanding. Feeding times, playful interludes, household chores, and quiet reflection were all structured by the subtle flow of energy around them. Gary moved through these moments with consistent deliberation, reinforcing stability and teaching SpongeBob that life's smallest details are connected through rhythm, attention, and care. Even interactions with the neighborhood followed subtle patterns. Patrick's clumsy energy ebbed and flowed unpredictably, yet Gary remained attuned, adjusting his observations and guidance accordingly. SpongeBob, in turn, learned to anticipate, respond, and respect the natural oscillations of those around him. Through these cycles, patience, empathy, and adaptability became second nature. Nature itself offered continuous lessons. The sway of seaweed in the currents, the migration of small fish, and the shifting patterns of sand across the ocean floor revealed the interconnectedness of all things. Gary observed attentively, signaling SpongeBob when changes required notice or adjustment. In this shared awareness, the sponge discovered the elegance of natural order and the subtle ways life communicates rhythm, need, and presence. Even mundane tasks held significance within these patterns. Preparing meals, tidying the home, and arranging objects were exercises in harmony, reflection, and attentiveness. Gary's deliberate actions underscored the value of care and precision, showing SpongeBob that understanding the flow of life enriches each task and moment. These lessons extended to emotional patterns as well. Gary sensed shifts in SpongeBob's mood, subtle fluctuations in energy, and moments of stress or excitement. His soft meows, gentle nudges, and measured gestures guided the sponge toward balance, teaching the silent art of emotional attunement. Through this, SpongeBob learned that harmony is as much internal as it is external, a rhythm between mind, heart, and environment. Evenings, when the currents slowed and light dimmed, became moments of reflection on the day's patterns. Gary rested near SpongeBob, antennae curling gently as he absorbed the vibrations of the environment. The sponge, attuned to these rhythms, reflected on the continuity of life, the lessons of observation, and the value of awareness in shaping his understanding of the world. Through these cycles, Gary became both teacher and companion. He revealed that life is a network of subtle patterns, that understanding arises from attention and reflection, and that connection is nurtured through presence and observation. Every motion, every pause, every quiet gesture reinforced the harmony of their shared existence. As night fell over the sand and coral of Bikini Bottom, currents shifting gently in the glow of bioluminescence, SpongeBob drifted into sleep with awareness of the day's lessons. Gary, steadfast and attentive, remained at his side, a guide, a companion, and a living embodiment of the natural patterns that shape life beneath the waves. In the gentle cadence of their days, the patterns of life unfolded continuously, quietly, and profoundly, teaching patience, understanding, and the enduring beauty of companionship between Snail and Sponge. Within the gentle currents of Bikini Bottom, life often unfolded in quiet rhythms, punctuated by moments of subtle joy. For SpongeBob and Gary, These shared moments were the essence of their companionship, brief, simple, yet profoundly meaningful. Mornings often began with small rituals. Gary would crawl slowly toward his food, antennae quivering with curiosity, and SpongeBob would prepare it with care, observing the snail's subtle preferences. The soft exchange of glances and gentle meows communicated understanding, trust, and appreciation. These ordinary acts became celebrations of attention and connection, quietly strengthening the bond between them. Playfulness continued to punctuate their days, chasing drifting bubbles across the sandy floor, nudging small shells along, or exploring new corners of the pineapple became shared experiences of delight. Gary's deliberate movements complemented SpongeBob's energy, creating a rhythm of engagement that was both structured and joyful. Each playful interaction, however small, carried layers of trust, companionship, and subtle instruction. Quiet observation also became a form of shared pleasure. They would watch currents sway the coral, observe the flicker of light on sand, or notice plankton gliding past, finding fascination in simplicity. Gary's attentive gaze and gentle meows guided SpongeBob toward appreciation of detail and subtle beauty. Together, they learned that happiness often resides in presence, awareness, and the shared attention to the world around them. Even minor adventures carried significance. A slow stroll to the edge of jellyfish fields, a brief journey to the Krusty Krab, or a careful navigation through coral clusters became opportunities to engage together. Gary's measured pace ensured careful observation, while SpongeBob's enthusiasm added energy, creating a balanced experience of exploration and companionship. Shared meals and quiet evenings deepened their connection. Further, SpongeBob would prepare food, while Gary's soft meows and subtle gestures communicated readiness, preference, and satisfaction. They would then rest together, antennae lightly touching, sharing warmth and a sense of calm presence. In these moments, words were unnecessary. Trust, understanding, and companionship spoke louder than language. Even minor disruptions, Patrick's clumsiness, sudden storms, or neighborhood commotion, became opportunities for connection. Gary remained composed, and SpongeBob learned to navigate unpredictability with patience and presence, reinforcing mutual understanding and reliance. The joy of these shared moments extended beyond action to emotion. SpongeBob felt supported, seen, and appreciated. Gary felt engaged, attentive, and understood. Through this reciprocal awareness, their bond grew deeper, transforming simple daily acts into expressions of profound companionship. As night descended over Bikini Bottom, currents slowing under the bioluminescent glow of the ocean floor, they rested side by side. Gary curled gently against SpongeBob, antennae lightly moving in the quiet rhythms of the home. SpongeBob, reflecting on the day, recognized the wealth of meaning in these shared moments, the joy of presence, the depth of silent understanding, and the richness of companionship nurtured over time. In the tapestry of daily life, it was not grand gestures or dramatic events that defined their relationship. It was the gentle, consistent, shared experiences, the quiet attention, playful exchanges, and reflective presence that created the foundation of trust, understanding, and enduring affection. And so, as the currents whispered softly around the pineapple home, Gary and SpongeBob rested together, their hearts intertwined in the quiet celebration of shared moments, simple pleasures, and the profound bond of companionship beneath the waves. In the quiet depths of Bikini Bottom, life flowed with the rhythm of currents, subtle and persistent. Within the pineapple home, SpongeBob carried with him lessons that had been imparted quietly, deliberately, over years of shared time with Gary. Each day spent alongside his snail companion reinforced patience, observation, and empathy. Through subtle gestures, careful guidance, and attentive presence, Gary had taught SpongeBob that understanding arises not from haste or noise, but from mindfulness, awareness, and quiet reflection. SpongeBob internalized these lessons, allowing them to shape his interactions with the world around him. The lessons were diverse, spanning both practical and emotional realms. Patience in play, careful attention during exploration, and measured action in daily tasks became natural extensions of Gary's influence. Even the most mundane activities, preparing meals, arranging objects, or navigating the streets of Bikini Bottom, became opportunities to apply what he had learned. Emotional intelligence was a central lesson. Gary's subtle guidance had shown SpongeBob how to navigate moods, stress, and unexpected challenges. The snail's quiet empathy taught that understanding and compassion are as important as observation, and that care is expressed in consistency, attentiveness, and presence. SpongeBob learned to recognize these qualities in others and to embody them in his own actions. Observation became a cornerstone of SpongeBob's awareness. He noticed the patterns of the ocean, the behaviors of neighbors, and the subtle shifts in environment and mood. Through this, he developed a sense of harmony with the world around him, a skill nurtured by years of following Gary's measured lead. Every movement of the currents, every flicker of light, and every small interaction offered lessons to be observed, remembered, and integrated. Play and joy were also lessons in balance. Gary's deliberate participation in playful moments had taught SpongeBob that happiness is best experienced when shared, mindful, and tempered with care. The sponge understood that delight could coexist with attentiveness, and that joy, like understanding, is amplified through connection. Through subtle adventures and quiet guardianship, SpongeBob had internalized the art of anticipation, caution, and thoughtful engagement. He recognized that even in the absence of explicit instruction, the presence of a wise and attentive companion provides guidance and shapes character. Gary's influence had quietly sculpted SpongeBob's perception, behavior, and emotional resilience, leaving an indelible mark on his life. Evenings offered time for reflection, where the sponge considered the lessons learned each day. Gary rested nearby, antennae curling lightly, eyes half closed, but ever vigilant. SpongeBob felt the depth of their shared understanding, recognizing that the wisdom imparted by his snail companion was not merely external guidance, but a part of himself, integrated into thought, action, and perception. Through these remembered lessons, SpongeBob approached life with a balance of curiosity, patience, and empathy. He understood the significance of observation, the power of subtlety, and the strength of consistent, quiet support. Each interaction with neighbors, each playful adventure, and each reflective moment was informed by the cumulative influence of Gary's wisdom. In this way, the Pineapple Home became more than a dwelling. It was a sanctuary of learning, growth, and silent guidance. Gary's presence shaped not only SpongeBob's actions, but the lens through which he experienced the world, a lens of care, attention, and profound understanding. As the currents of night shifted softly over the sand and coral of Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob drifted into sleep with gratitude and awareness. The lessons of Gary, quietly accumulated and deeply internalized, became a part of his being, enduring guidance, silent wisdom, and a testament to the transformative power of attentive companionship. And so, within the gentle rhythms of underwater life, SpongeBob carried forward the lessons remembered, a living reflection of patience, empathy, and the enduring bond between snail and sponge. Beneath the serene glow of Bikini Bottom, life flowed with gentle consistency, carrying the lessons, joys, and quiet rhythms of countless days. Within the Pineapple Home, one presence remained steadfast through every moment, shaping and sustaining the life it touched: Gary, the snail, companion, and silent guide. Years of shared mornings, playful adventures, and reflective evenings had woven a tapestry of connection between snail and sponge. Every deliberate movement, every soft meow, every attentive gesture had accumulated into a profound bond, one that transcended words and existed in the harmony of presence, understanding, and trust. Gary was more than a pet. He was a teacher of patience, a model of awareness, a guide through curiosity, and a source of comfort in times of uncertainty. Through him, SpongeBob had learned to observe, to reflect, and to act with empathy and mindfulness. The sponge's energy, exuberant and heartfelt, was balanced by the snail's measured intelligence, creating a symbiosis of joy, insight, and companionship. Even in the quietest moments, their bond radiated meaning. Shared meals, soft touches, and gentle observation conveyed love and care without the need for words. Playfulness intertwined with reflection, curiosity merged with guidance, and the lessons of daily life were gently absorbed, forming the foundation of SpongeBob's understanding of the world. Gary's presence extended beyond the home, subtly influencing the broader rhythms of Bikini Bottom. Through careful observation, measured movement, and emotional attunement, the snail navigated currents, neighbors, and playful adventures, ensuring safety, harmony, and connection. SpongeBob learned to trust this guidance instinctively, recognizing that the smallest companion can exert profound influence. As time passed, the lessons of patience, observation, empathy, and joyful engagement became inseparable from SpongeBob's being. Every day reflected the quiet wisdom imparted by Gary, the enduring influence of a companion who taught through presence, subtlety, and consistent care. The snail's guidance was eternal, embedded in routine, play, discovery, and reflection. Even the currents of night, gentle and soothing, carried a sense of continuity. Gary rested near SpongeBob, antennae lightly curling, eyes soft and alert. The sponge, feeling the warmth, trust, and quiet intelligence of his companion, drifted into sleep with a sense of security, gratitude, and profound connection. In this eternal companionship, SpongeBob recognized the enduring truth of their bond, that the simplest gestures, the quietest guidance, and the steadfast presence of one devoted companion can shape a life in immeasurable ways. Through years of shared experience, Gary had become inseparable from SpongeBob's heart, a source of joy, wisdom, and comfort that transcended time and circumstance. And as the soft currents of Bikini Bottom whispered across sand and coral, the lives of Snail and Sponge intertwined, moving together in perfect harmony. The eternal companionship between Gary and SpongeBob was a testament to the power of patience, presence, and unconditional care, a quiet yet profound story of connection beneath the waves. No matter the days to come, the adventures, discoveries, or gentle moments shared, their bond remained unbroken. Gary, the silent guide, and SpongeBob, the spirited companion, continued together, an eternal pair navigating the rhythms of life, learning, playing, and existing in the enduring harmony of friendship and understanding.